Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. So Kelly, Kelly Friend, will you drive the PowerPoint for us? Thank you.
Absolutely. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
And if it's easier, you want to call me KC so that we can
Casey.
differentiate between the Kellys. KC
Okay.
from KC, that's fine.
There we go. I like that. Yeah. Well, welcome everybody to our weekly Friday meeting. With that, we are going to go ahead and get started because we're at an hour and want to be respectful of everybody's time. Today, we're going to cover, go ahead and Kelly, next slide. We're just going to talk about, are there any new members in the work group today that need to introduce themselves? All of us have met each other twice now for the past 2 Fridays. So today we'll just do introductions on any new members and just state where you're at and where you're from. And okay, I'm not hearing any. That's great. We're going to do a recap of last Friday's meetings, and then we're going to go right into where we left off last Friday, which is the draft implementation guide phase 3. We're going to spend a little bit of time about institutional sharing and practices. Other best practices that we asked any of you that you might know of to bring here with you today. We're going to talk about program resources and the build out of those, review the Google site parking lot topics. And then I hope everybody between last Friday and today, we're able to get into the Google site now and are seeing, because a lot of updates were made this week from several of us. So we'll hopefully have some time to walk through those too. And then we'll pick the next topic for the next meeting. So the recap is last week was on Wednesday, the Lunch and Learn feedback. How many of you attended that? And would you like to provide feedback for Dallas and Stacy in the group?
I attended. It was great. Sent the recording out to everybody I could think of. Maybe having a refresher or a part 2 later on, because I know first week of the semester, I know a lot of our faculty were unable to attend, but I'm hoping that they carve out time for the recording.
Yeah, we planned to, it was recorded, Casey, and so we plan to put that out on the Google site. So you can go grab and share. All of these webinars, we plan to keep that as a resource repository. This will help address the turnover, the staff turnover in all the institutions. So we're going to load that, populate that page with all of these webinars.
Yeah, Kelly Friend sent it out to us. So yeah, thank you, Kelly.
Dallas,
I just put it on the Google site this morning, so it's already out there too. Okay,
great. So the Google site, repository site, we had almost everybody. I think there were just a few that needed to get access into the site. Now, be mindful, this is our playground. This is our safe space that all of us in this work group get to practice and play around with. The idea of this is once CHE's Clearinghouse 2.0 site and pages are ready to launch, we'll have this site populated and it'll be an easy transition for them to just, transfer over to the next site. But we're at the point in this project where we're collecting a lot of great information and we need a repository site for all of this. But it's not published to the public. It's just for those of us here to consume right now, to play around and to build consensus around it. So with that, I did create a parking lot section, and I took all the notes from the previous 2 meetings and started putting out there what I thought I take away. Spend some time and take a look at that parking lot. If you have something you want to add, send it to Dallas, myself, Kelly Friend. We can go in and add it. And then we also I think there was a broken link on one of the ACE military guide overview. So that's been fixed. We're adding we will be putting our presentations from every Friday's meeting. So if you miss a Friday meeting, the PowerPoint will be out there and the recording. So we're just going to do that. Eventually, we're looking at putting out the policies, the military credit for prior learning policies that each institution has, and any best practices. That way, once this group goes away the end of next month, you have a place to go to. I remember hearing about that in that meeting and go grab it. You can also take a look at each other's policies. So we'll be populating this quite a bit, and it's a go-to resource for all of you. So then the next thing we did last week was the implementation guide. We only had time to get through phase 1 and phase 2. The idea around spending time with this work group on it is to make sure that we customize this boilerplate implementation guide for everyone in Indiana, and that it is what serves you best. So this was just a sample one that we took and have been making adjustments to it based on your recommendations. Does it feel good? What is missing? What is too much or that doesn't apply here at the Indiana institutions? Is the terminology the same for all the institutions? And is this the best terminology to go for? Speaking of terminology, we did spend some time and went out with the Collegiate Purple Star Initiative and pulled forth that terminology that task force spent last year on developing, as well as Dallas found, Dallas, what was the name of it? The military culture article?
Yes.
Which has a plethora of great definitions and terms so when you're all talking and working amongst each other, you're talking the same thing. And that was something we looked at when we reviewed and did the analysis on all the surveys that were done last month by all the institutions. Everybody's using different terminology, it appears, or at least the policies and practices speak to. Your institution calls it transfer credit. The other institution calls it military credit. Some institutions call it military credit for prior learning. So we want to make sure everybody's on the same page of what it is. There is an umbrella of all different types of tools under credit for prior learning. Remember, we're going to scale this once this target population is served. And so the terminology, we need to be consistent throughout statewide. And then you also decided that the next topics was we'd finish the draft implementation guide and then take a look at institutional sharing practices, and then talk about the ACE military 7-minute video, because in there it speaks how you can do some institutional peer reviews with each other, comparative and analysis. But if not every institution has an account set up in there, then we need to look at what are if we do have some institutions that are not using the ACE military guide yet. And so if that's the case, what are some other ways that we can do some institutional sharing? So next slide. So here's the draft implementation guide. Dallas, I'm going to turn it over to you for these next couple slides.
Sure. So with the discussion from last week, one of the things to keep in mind is this is just a draft plan. The one that you were looking at is a plan that identifies with someone or an institution that already has some elements of a PLA program, CPL program, but maybe not a military one, or maybe a military one that needs to be enhanced and fashioned a little bit better. So that's why you saw it the way it is, but we're going to have a phase by phase implementation plan too, because this is a 3-phased project. Phase 1 is A&D, the first part there, the analysis and design. Phase 2 is development and implementation. And today we're going to talk about phase 3, the evaluation part. So if we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Something else that we're working on is a workbook, a guide that will break down some things, list out the details of what needs to go on. And if you go out to the Google site, you'll find that we're already starting to break out those tasks in clear pathways that you can make sure, hey, have I done this? Have I done that? But in that evaluation phase, those earlier tasks are incredibly important, because this is where we're going to assess how well it's doing. Phase 1, phase 2, just a nice flow from one to the other. And then we're going to take a 6-month break. What I recommend is a 6-month break. You might go, well, we only need 2 months. Okay, that's fine. That's cool. But take a little break and let the machine run. And let's make sure that things are working as we expected. And then this will allow us to collect some data that we can then determine if the plan is working the way we expected, if we're getting the results from what we're doing that we had expected, if it's better, if it's worse, where we need to hone the skills a little bit more. So this part of evaluation is all about analyzing the data that we've been collecting, the processes that we have in place, looking at the number of veterans we had from the beginning. So you need to make sure, put a stake in the ground. This is the date that we're going to begin tracking the changes in our veteran connected service students. And in the evaluation phase, all of that data becomes important. Now, here's why I'm such a data geek. This is how we prove that what we're doing is valuable to our institutions. Many schools struggle with the idea of having a CPL person. And we're going to use the MCPL program project to validate that, hey, there is a return on investment, and help our leadership to see that we have a structured approach to this. Because the overall plan is, this is the beginning point. This is the beta test, if you will, for that larger program of CPL, where we go out to industry and we go out to recover our stop out students to bring them back and do more things. Okay. I think that pretty much covers it. Questions or thoughts about that before we move forward? Okay. I don't see any raised hands. Anybody have anything they want to add to that?
Just that the evaluation component is something you could do internally, but it's also something that a third party could come in and walk through with you.
Right.
Sometimes it's helpful when you evaluate, I think, is doing those secret shopper, like having those interviews with faculty and with different components, all the different players in the ecosystem and the hub of the program, as well as the students. Is there something that, we all overlook that would make the program more meaningful and improve upon? And it's also a very important step that I believe should be done every 3 years, to take a look, a snapshot. This is where we are. Are you meeting goals? Especially when these programs, are implemented fully, it should also be part of your institution's strategic plan. It should be part of your accrediting body review. You should have a little chapter, about credit for prior learning and what you're doing there. I know those evaluators love to see these new types of programs implemented and sustained in institutions.
Yeah, and Steve, I think you've got a little bit to say about that too, the way that this will connect with Collegiate Purple Star. Because if you hit these wickets, you should be able to clearly make alignment to the Collegiate Purple Star. Purple is not coming out of my mouth yet this morning. Purple Star.
More
Would you agree
coffee.
with that, Steve? Kind of putting you on the spot there.
No, I agree. By doing this stuff, then you're showing that you have the framework that we need to meet the two of the standards within the CPSI. Say CPSI, it's a little easier.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thanks, Steve. All right. So on the institutional sharing opportunities, Don, I'm going to
Meg
kind of
Girl
roll
has
it
her
back
hand
to you.
raised.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just going to ask one quick question, Dallas. When I was reading through the implementation plan for that third phase, one of the things that I was wondering is the use of the word program here and making sure that we have a good definition for that. And the reason I'm saying that is because in some cases, having a strong military CPL program is actually going to be like having a program, like an academic program that creates
Oh.
a place. So, like we have some programs at Purdue Global that are specific for military. So we have developed programs.
Yep.
And like the first time I read this, I was like, oh, yes, we should be developing programs, but that I think those are two meanings of the word. And I don't actually know how to make it more clear because I read it again and I was like, it's actually quite clear. But I just wanted to footnote that as a word that has a couple different meanings. And to be really honest, as the maturity of the MCPL program grows, programs should be part of the consideration for how you're going to put that MCPL into practice for your service members. But that's probably later after the program itself is kind of off the ground. I just wanted to offer that as a point of clarification.
Right. So what we might do, and for those of you that haven't looked at it, if you look at page 11, it's in that very first line. It reads, the evaluation stage begins approximately 6 to 12 months after the official program is launched. So maybe we need to change that to the official MCPL program or system is launched.
System, yeah.
I'll mess with that. But
Yeah.
you've got a great point there. We've got to be careful of overusing the word program because it does mean a lot of different things to different people.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Allegra, because now I'm thinking of another umbrella, because maybe many of you would position this type of veteran service in your veterans offices. For those that are large enough that have a full blown, this is like a one-stop shop. Here's another tool for veteran students and affiliated students. Whereas the other is a statewide credit for prior learning program for all student target populations. Indiana's not there yet, but hopefully when we're done with this target and we work out all these, and that's a great point. I would look to Stacy and Steve and say, how do you view these statewide? Are they called initiatives? Are they programs? Because some colleges still struggle with where does credit for prior learning, where does it fall under? Is it who's going to own it? Is it the admissions office? Is it the registrar's office? Is it each dean director? I've been in some institutions. It's up to each dean of that department, of that specialty, whether it's healthcare, manufacturing courses, gen eds. It's up to them to decide if they're going to, so it really will depend on where and how the presidents and chancellors assign and where it's going to be housed and sustained. So that's something that's just food for thought for Stacy and Steve. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a couple things. I mean, exactly. Point well taken, Allegra. I would think something along the lines of framework or structure, because we're not going to have a standard state program, but we're helping to flesh out a framework for action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like the idea of the MCPL initiative too. That's another good word there.
Yeah, because that could be ongoing, right? I mean, it is ongoing.
It is. It is.
I will add, and this goes back years, but during the U.S. Department of Labor and U.S. Department of Education TACT grants, in the last 2 grants or 3 grants, they required credit for prior learning for those students and their goal was to have every student avail the opportunity to consider or partake. In other words, open access, which was, nationwide, all of those institutions struggled with because it's not yet in place at the institutions. So the other thing we could think about is having statewide leadership support and do a mass press release or something like that from each of the chancellors and presidents. We did something similar because we had middle management, middle administration in some of these institutions saying, well, my president hasn't told me I'm going to do this. We're going to do this. And it was almost that they needed that. So we did a conference, at our annual conference, the Commission of Higher Ed's annual conference, and we had presidents supporting and speaking of the benefits and giving examples of their institutions. So, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to build this and to build the capacity and the support for it, but it is doable.
Well, and your point about leadership is so important. As I've gone out and done this over the last couple of years, if you don't get the leadership and staff support, if you don't get the leadership buy-in, then it's one champion trying to do something. And when they leave, it goes away. But if leadership gets on board, wow, they will push people to do things. If you have the stick in the mud that's like, well, CPL, we tried that before, we don't like it. They can get away with that kind of a comment. But when the leadership comes down and says, well, this is different and we're going to do it, it means a whole lot more. Okay. And that's where we need to get to, is that leadership sees it and values the idea of CPL.
Mm-hmm. great point. Thank you. Any other feedback around this section of the guide?
So Don, you brought up the umbrella a couple times. Do
Mhm.
we need to look at the umbrella, look at the structure? Is that something you as
Yeah.
a team would want to see in the future, maybe at our next meeting?
Right. I think it would be, I think would be well worth it because it's, I think we could talk about just the entire ecosystem and then go into the umbrella because the external partners too, it's worthy to have maybe just spend a little bit of our time at the next meeting about that. Because it speaks to where we're headed. So as we're in these, with this work group now developing and drafting, I think it's good for them to see that.
Yeah. So let's get a quick poll from the group. If you would, just using the icons on your system there under the reaction. If you think it's a good idea, give us a thumbs up. Okay. If you don't like the idea, give us I don't think there's a thumbs down icon, is there? Give us something other than that. So, but everybody needs to participate here so we can get a good feel for where you are on this idea of, do we need to look at what the umbrella is? Do we need to look at what a MCPL structure might look like? What does a coordinator look like? Okay, I see a thumbs up. There's one. There we go. Okay.
We're at 4, 5, 6, 7,
Right,
8.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Okay, good.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. We'll try to do that next time. Okay. Well, we will do it next time.
Mhm. Thank you.
And thank you all for participating.
Hey, let's move on and to the institutional sharing opportunities. So did everyone take the time to watch the ACE military guide overview? For me as an outside party, I'm no longer with an institution, so I don't have an account registered, but I do remember those days and my days at an institution using the guide. So, it does talk about, and I'm just wondering if anyone is actually doing that today, or if you didn't know that that was a feature within your institution account.
Well, I guess I have a question to kind of go along with that. So I'm kind of wondering what maybe some of the other colleges or universities on this call are doing, because for us at ISU, I look at the ACE transfer guide and I print out for the courses, what the recommendations are, and we use TES, which I think a lot of schools
Yeah.
use, and ACE has a very similar feature to that, but our college, people are not going to go to two different systems to make that equivalency. So we send everything out through TES. So for us, when stuff comes back, we just make the equivalency there, put it in our SIS and be done with it. We don't actually put it into the military guide, just because it's another system.
Right.
So I'm wondering if others are doing the same thing we are, or if they're using it like it's intended to be used. Just kind of curious.
Yeah, we just, Butler just started with military CPL. I've been using ACE as it's, I think, intended to be used. I haven't really brought any of the approvers into the process yet, but I am tracking things there. As to whether it would be worth it to log what you're doing in two systems, I don't really know if I can comment on that, but so far I think ACE is pretty straightforward to use. The videos they provide really point out exactly what you need to do. So I've been fairly pleased with ACE so far, but I also have used it as well to print off, the documentation and get it to subject matter experts and have them review a recommendation.
Lori and I were just talking about this on another call earlier this morning, and the updating two systems, that was something that kind of came up with, our system, Ivy Tech system, and CHE as a statewide entity. And if we can make sure that those, I'm not a technical person, so I'm don't know how feasible this is, but if we could get those two systems to talk to each other, or all the systems from each institution to talk to the state, so that we update ours and it automatically goes to the state database, if you will. That would be great.
Let me talk to that for just a second. Okay, so the way that we can do that is ACE has an API system where you can take your catalog as you've identified stuff, you upload it, you can bring that out of test, you can bring it out of banner, all these things, and vice versa. You can go the other direction. Okay, so that's in there. They just don't do a good job explaining it. It's one of those things
Right,
where
we're stuck there. We're stuck there.
Yeah,
We don't know how to do it.
yeah. They didn't do the training manual. It's typical military. ACE is not military, but they have a lot of military people that work there, and they go, "Oh, we're going to build this great thing, and then we're going to hand it to you, but we're not going to give you the instruction on how to use it. You just need to figure that out." You know, and academia has moments like that too. Now, let me, following on what James is talking about, let me say this. So here's why TESS is a good way to do this, but TESS does not share well with others. And what happens is when you have a service member come in and they drop their information through that JST, your registrar, transfer services folks, whoever's using it, they drop that JST into that system. It will tell you what you've already aligned to those career fields, but it will also tell you what your sister institutions or brother institutions have aligned to. That's one of the things that's a little bit better than TESS. Okay. And if we use this upload download system, that takes a lot of that work out of a duplicate system, because then it's just a matter of making sure that we've got the most recent upload. We dictate that. Okay. Your institution dictates that. And as you put new things in there, it's a very quick update. Okay. So as long as people are putting things in there, James, moving it around with other folks to make sure that they're saying, yes, this is, we're going to make this credit recommendation. It gives you that history. And so that's part of it. I've asked who's doing this well, and I've not really gotten an answer. Okay. All right, James, you're up first, buddy. I see a number 1 by your name. Question, comment?
Yeah, all I was going to comment on, we've actually uploaded the course data into ACE.
Okay.
And that process, once I figured it out, is very easy to do once you figure it out. I just wanted to point out to the group, if it gives you an error to something of the equivalent of not working now, please try again later, there's something actually wrong with your data. It makes it sound like there's something wrong with the system, but it's actually there's something wrong with your data. It doesn't handle like spaces after a course number or things like that. So you just have to make sure your data is really clean before you upload it.
James, I think you're going to be our lead on doing those kinds of things, if you don't mind. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So
You've
been voted in. So now everybody else is going, I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying a word. I'll end up being the expert. Allegra, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what colleagues have already shared. At Purdue Global, we do not currently put our military equivalencies into the ACE Modernized Military Guide because it is a duplicate effort to the workflows and the equivalency storage we already have. While we are a college source test institution, that is not where we have our military equivalencies. We have thousands of equivalencies in a homegrown system, which is kind of the cornerstone of our hesitation in moving closer to the Modernized Military Guide. I will say that all the information I've ever gotten from ACE on it is like, oh, that's awesome. In particular, for the data people on this call, I'm under the impression that once you store your equivalencies in the ACE Modernized Military Guide, they will notify you when something that you have an equivalency to changes. And
Great.
that is, of all things that I've heard about it, and we've had lots of conversations about how much work it would be to get our equivalencies into that the new guide. That's probably the most valuable thing that we've heard, because maintaining the military database, as you all know, I see lots of like yes faces. It's just impossible other than really being reactive to a new exhibit or a new version coming along, and you're like, oh, a new one. Okay, I guess we'll go back to the drawing board. But the fact that ACE considered integrating some type of notification into that, I don't know if that's true in practice, but I know it was their intention, and that makes me really excited. And I would echo that, any connectivity between the state and that ACE military guide sounds really smart to me.
So Allegra, can I connect you and James to talk about that? Because James, it sounds like you've really cracked the code. I don't have that background because you have to be an institution to be able to use that. Okay. And I am not attached to a university right now to be able to do that. But James has already done it. Okay. So maybe if you guys can have a sidebar sometime over the next week and just see, because it's an API file, I think it should work, Allegra, if you guys can do an API file. Okay.
I just want to clarify. I have only interfaced by uploading a flat file or a CSV. I not using an API just yet.
Okay. Yeah. If you guys can just,
I am happy to offer what little knowledge I have though to anybody
there
that
you
has
go.
questions.
All right, good, because you've got the most knowledge in the room right now. Okay. I saw another hand. I think it was Laura.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if anybody had any sort of documentation of how the API works and the setup and all of that, or if anybody knows where it might exist.
James? I mean, I've been out to the website and saw it.
Yeah, there's a couple. I think there's a video, a very quick video on it. Beyond that, I don't remember there being a guide. What I did was just download the sample file and then try to just mimic my data extract to what the sample file was.
Okay. More to follow on that. I'll see if I can find somebody out in the system doing it. But I don't want to box us in to say this is the only way to go, because tests, there is a way to share. It just doesn't, you have to go by institution, is what I understand. And I see Laura doing the head shake. So, yep. Thanks, Kelly, for
And
making
Stacy
that.
and Steve, I'd like to ask of you to seek any information within CHE. And what I mean by that is parallel programs, initiatives that might be a fit for this in the future. I'm thinking credential engine.
Yeah, we're already going down that path because we don't want
Okay.
to have institutions submit
Yeah.
yet more data that they're not already doing. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So more to come on that one. So let's go next to the Council of College and Military Educators. And Dallas, you want to explain this because they've got an upcoming meeting, and this encourages and promotes institution sharing.
Right. So the Council on College and Military Educators is a conference that goes on every year in January, and they bring all of the key players in the military education ecosystem together: Department of Defense, Department of Education, DOL vets, all of these players. Kelly and I were there this past year, and they bring in everyone that you get a chance to talk with them and to hear, frontline information on what's going on. Now, they also have a regional expression of this, and that's called ACME. And with ACME, the intention there is that they will hold these regional meetings to bring together the folks who can't make it to to CCME. CCME is expensive, and they always go to high dollar places because most of them are federal employees, and our uncle is paying them to go. So of course they're going to pick a nice place. It was a wonderful place at the Gaylord in Colorado last year. Next year in January, it will be at National Harbor in Washington, D.C., which puts you really close to all the cool stuff. But our ACME expression, the regional expression, is right now it's Kentucky, Tennessee. It's called Mid-South ACME, and they are meeting on the 12th of September in Louisville. If you want to do the meet and greet the evening before on the 11th, they're doing a riverboat dinner cruise. It is a one-time fee that includes membership and everything of $250 to attend the working group for that day, and then your annual fee for the rest of the year. That just makes it all one big group. And they're going to have a lot of folks there, such as ESOs, the education service officers, and how you could get a chance to meet them and talk with them. In Indiana, we don't have an active duty base, but we do have the National Guard. So we have to interact with their ESO. And we also get a chance to hear some speakers that you might get tired of hearing from. I'm doing the first session. So I'll be there doing my part on making the case for military CPL. We're going to have, I think Dante's might even end up coming. So we'll see. So just some great opportunities to get with folks and also benchmark, because they're doing it out in their systems. We would like to see Indiana become an active part. We're talking about Ohio, but Kentucky and Tennessee right now are the primary ones. And that's going to be at the Hilton. You can go to their website. It is on the Google site, the link there. So, and I see Steve St. John is going to be there. That's awesome. But we can really build this out. And interestingly enough, right now, the president and vice president are from Ivy Tech. Ryan is on our team here, and he's the vice president there. So there you go. We already have an Indiana connection. Questions
Okay.
or comments about that? Okay.
So I'll just add and put it back to Stacy and Steve. Do you think that there's potential for Indiana as we're growing and building capacity? Do you see in the future a statewide standing think tank to support the program, to sustain the program, to further grow and expand? Do you see routine meetings or annual meetings and Indiana participating at the ACME?
Yeah, yes to both.
Okay.
We don't know what that will look like, but we've been talking about it and how we're supporting it as a team. We might be calling it like a collaborative or, whatever we decide to do. But yes, this is ongoing.
Good, good. Okay. The other opportunity that we have now is this Indiana Google site repository, soon to be the future Clearinghouse 2.0. So I believe it's just a select few of us that can go in and add things to that. But eventually we'd like to open that up because this is the safe space for all of you. So it could serve as another resource sharing outside of the other types of data collection systems that we spoke of earlier. Is there thoughts on any other type of institutional sharing opportunities that you would recommend as institutions? And then Steve and Stacy, are there other initiatives that are thinking about standing something up that's sharing? I think, I'm thinking like your monthly, maybe your IT directors, and that's when they talk about data collection on the various types of student populations and records. But then, is this something standing, the credit for prior learning and military credit for prior learning that should be on the agenda, maybe a standing topic on agendas for all those vast committees?
Yeah, our STAC committee will be in statewide transfer articulation committee, or I can't remember what it stands for. I should know that. I just call it STAC. Those are our chief academic officers, and CPL will be a regular standing agenda item starting this academic year. That's one space. We'll have our institutional research folks bringing forward the focus on CPL data collection and refinement. And that's a standing group that CHE works with. But I was thinking, and Allegra, I know you've been active in this, but the state version of ACRO and other associations might be another place where we can nudge our way in on a regular basis.
Will there be any reporting or annual reporting to your military partners or the legislative branch of government or the workforce branch of government?
Yeah, I think key there is data, right? So that's high on our list. We're starting that collection, at least from the publics initially this year into next heavily. And Alex Parkinson is leading that initiative with our BI team. But yes, I think that's going to be absolutely critical to anything that we're doing. We can't look at this as a one and done, of course. And I know that all of you at your institutions would agree. We've all tried initiatives, in some form or fashion in the other, and without that buy-in and without that continuous training. So I think critical to this is figuring out, under this umbrella of the CPL collaborative or whatever we call it, what are those regular touch points that we're infusing into the normal cycle of the academic year, for example.
Right. Okay. So we have a question from Laura. Stacy, and this would be for you. Is there talk about changing the name of Clearinghouse 2.0?
Sorry, that was not really for this probably, but
yeah, we're just absolutely. I mean, because it was legislatively mandated that CHE stand up a clearinghouse, which right now is just a website with links to other institution websites. But yeah, let's think about this. Let's reimagine what that might be. But we're calling it 2.0 for now.
So we're open for suggestions. She's open for suggestions. So, and then Allegra noted that she has pushed the MCPL out to the Indiana Transfer Council as well. And thank you for doing that. So I imagine this will grow and pick up speed, and will be a hot topic to talk about, especially as further federal and state legislative changes are coming that we're not aware of today. But there will need to be a mechanism of how this gets out, the updates get out, as well as maybe standing statewide committees just on the program alone. Any other suggestions on institutional sharing? This is a topic that will keep coming. We have it out there. We'll show you here in a little bit when we get to the Google site. Let's go to the next slide. Programs. So this is what we wanted. It was suggested last week you'd like to talk about more other program resources. So I know program meaning credit for prior learning and military credit for prior learning, not the academic program. But these would be tools that all of you as institutions need to grow your program, or that are your go-to, or that you would start introducing to your new onboarding staff that will serve in this type of initiative program. So last week we heard, a common definition for everybody to adopt, accept, and move forward, which would mean some language changes in some of the policies and practices that we saw in that assessment survey. We pulled out the Collegiate Purple Star Initiative. It's 3 pages. All of you probably are looking at the Collegiate Purple Star Initiative because you're getting ready to prepare your application. So I just wanted to ask, I know there was a task force that developed those. We have basic, just one list, a 1-page sheet, basic glossary of terms in the Credit for Prior Learning Statewide Model Policy Guide. And then we have the Military Cultural Competency article. Are all of you familiar with these 3? Because we will take these then and build. I think what we heard from you last week is you wanted an appendix in the implementation guide, of this. And if you're not prepared to talk about that and want to review those 3, and then we bring it back next week, or give us a thumbs up, thank you for that. For those of you that I'm pretty sure a lot of you have been along this ride these past couple of years with us, so, and are familiar with them. Okay. The next thing is we heard checklist, so what Dallas has done is taken that implementation guide and broken it out to the 3 phases. And based on your input, we can build some checklists. So that hopefully will address where each institution comes in and starts utilizing this plan. They can say, we've already done this, this, and this, we can go to this, as well as we heard developing a workbook for all of you to use. The workbook would be a good training tool for onboarding new staff to the program as well. It was also suggested in a project internal meeting, not with this group, but is there a need? They think there might be a need for a registrar's resource guide. Because we did see that in some of the assessments that came back as the registrar, not all registrars, are consistently applying this as other registrars in other institutions. And so we might need to, the CHE might need to take some time with that registrar's work group and share everything that this work group's developed to get them all on a consistent playing field. And that's really critical since our students are mobile. And I see hearts and thumbs up, and that's good. Okay. So that's been added to the parking lot for further development. The next thing is admissions office guide or resource guide. Admissions office staff, counselors, and advisors, they do have a bit of a turnover there. So there was talk about meeting with that group and sharing all the love from this group, but developing a resource guide for them as well. How do you feel about that? Or are you all pretty connected to your admissions? Or some institutions may have military students going to your office directly to do the admissions. So, and Stacy, you've got your hand up.
Yes, and I had something very important to say and it went out my brain, so I'll come back.
Okay. Lori.
So
Lori,
Kelly
sorry.
Circle and I were just chatting, and we think on top of a registrar's resource guide would be very helpful for a faculty resource guide.
Okay.
I think I would rather have that than the admissions one if we had to like pick and choose.
Okay.
I do
Okay,
remember when
so when you say faculty resource guide, what are you thinking?
Like how you're always out there talking to everybody and explaining to faculty how the training happens in the military. And it's not just an OJT thing. We are sitting in the classroom for 8 hours a day for 2 weeks, and we're learning this as well as OJT. I think that kind of that normalizing that conversation, that it has changed, like how we talked about before, how even the nursing program has changed and now they are accredited.
Mm-hmm.
Faculty still don't understand that.
Right. So it's more of a, how does ACE do their business guide?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately the faculty are the ones that are, reviewing and making that final evaluation for credit. And
That's
so
right.
if they understand more about where ACE got this, then that would be very helpful.
Okay. Yeah. So, Don, I've got something like that already.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. When we were rolling this out statewide, the faculty is so key. In fact, that's why the vetting of our model policy took 18 months, because we wanted to make sure every faculty member understood what credit for prior learning is. A lot of faculty still are like, you're taking students out of my class. My class isn't going to meet if I don't have 12 students, and they don't understand the benefits of credit for prior learning and how it turns those students into repeat customers for lifelong learning opportunities with your institution. But I agree that that's a good point. Kelly Friend.
I just wanted to bring up that there might be a space, and maybe we can add it to the faculty, that for academic advisors, because they are the first line and they will be registering students for those classes to meet with the faculty. So I'm wondering if there's just something in there that a component that could help guide them. I've seen in research where plans of study had equivalents. Like if you were taking English, then you could collect to this, or you could do, and it was a guide, but that is a heavy lift. And by no means am I suggesting that
Mhm.
to be done like within this work, but it is something I think to think about is if you're going to take English 111, here's the
Yeah.
CLEP, here's the ACE, when you have a military student in front of you.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's where some really neat technology tools can aid. I know 2 other states that have technology-based tools. It's similar to an MCPL bot. As soon as they check in the application that they're military, another bot comes up and says, by the way, what is your military training? And so they can almost do a quick, calculator of what they could be eligible. So by the time they actually get their appointment at the admissions office, some of this work's been done, but every military student's offered the opportunity to take advantage of it. So no one's missed. Where before it was if the admissions officer knew about it.
Yeah.
So
John, you were
open
you were
access.
yeah, you were spot on, because I think where academic advisors and admissions get really bogged down is knowing so much for a population, and they will just continue to maybe miss out or have gaps in their knowledge. And then it's not until they get further into their degree that they're like, oh, but why did I take that? And they feel like they had a disservice to them in their beginning stages. So
Right.
any automation, like you just suggested, I think lifts a bigger burden.
Yeah.
Yeah, or shares the burden across a group of people. And I think that's always helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
So you're going to get tired of hearing me say this, but let's talk offline on that. I have something that's a template I think we can use.
Okay, good. Okay, Kelly, your screen just went dark. There we go. So next, what we'd like to do, so if you hear of other resources, please, share those with us and we'll be adding to that. What we need to go to next, though, is I do want to take some time before we get to this last one. I'm going to speed up my screen over here so I know what I've got. Okay, we wanted to share that we do have some future capacity building webinars, September 18th, October 16th, November 20th, and December 11th. So thank you for all those that attended. The recording of the August 14th will go out into that Google Sites. These as well will be recorded and they'll go out there for referencing back. So we know that this is another way. And what I hope to see is after we finished with this project, many of you are subject matter experts and could be presenters on future webinars and then sharing your institution's best practice. And it just builds that whole directory network that we really want to have everybody's go to amongst each other. Next slide. So last week we talked about this in a previous phase, and this is the whole coordinator concept model. And some of you wanted to see this blown up a little bit more, but how can we build this out more? So we wanted to spend just a few minutes today and get some feedback from you. Where in these areas would you like to see further build out, further steps, further tools developed? Now, be mindful that last week we did share that in this workbook, we're going to be asking each of you and possibly students, but for some very impactful statements. Like I believe, Ron, you're drafting one in support of, I have to remember, I have to go back to my notes. I can't locate it right now.
Yeah,
Ron,
if I'm
do you
remembering
remember?
the section from last week's conversation, I'm not sure if it will fall under student-centric or staff and faculty, but it was basically kind of talking about the mesh point between those two areas. Basically,
Right.
That's
talking
it.
about how we can leverage the faculty, especially those who have prior military experience, so that they kind of bring those students closer and help them kind of transition into, student life and academia.
Right. Thank you. So we brought this slide back for this week. I know it was requested, and so just what do you think? Take a few moments and take a look at it. But it talks about, the responsibilities and activities in each of those components of this hub, of this, model. And is this something that, we've overlooked or we need to add to it?
So Laura and James have put comments about program management and staff and faculty. What do you mean? Help me understand where you're coming from.
Sorry, I thought you were asking where you wanted the focus to be.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
No,
Yep,
no, that's
same.
fine. Laura, I saw you come
was-
off of,
Kind of the same thing, pretty much.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will be placing this out there on the Google site. For a little bit. It will be in the implementation guide and the workbook, and maybe with some exercises with it to help to aid the institutions. Okay, we need to move along because we're running shy. So the Google site, we did create a parking lot section. So this version is probably 72 hours old. We've been working on it every day since
We
then.
have.
So you might need to go out and see the new one. But this is just based on things that we heard from you these last few meetings of further work that needs to be done. We may get a chunk of this done during this project, but I do want to say, like the FAQ, we'd love to see a small work group take on the FAQ and start with that. And do we have any volunteers that would be liking, that would help to develop a military program FAQ? Because this will really help those institutions that have no policy. And be mindful, there were 3 that had no policy, and there were 2 more that they thought they had a policy, but it was not submitted for the analysis. So, and then anything that we're missing here on the parking lot, and we're going to keep this live throughout this entire till the end of the year, and just keep adding to it, checking off what we've done, but then also adding to it, because this will really help build and what we need to do further to build a robust program.
John, as we've been working with this over the last couple of days, I think one of the things that we'll also do is, as we solve a parking lot issue, we'll leave it up there for just a bit with comments right behind it in a different color or something that says, hey, this is what we've solved. So that's why you want to go back and check occasionally just to see what's been fixed. Maybe we need to do a parking lot for the parking lot, that once they get that would be the tow lot. We would take it to the tow lot, and then it would just show the things that we resolved. Yeah, the driveway. Yeah. And that way,
Thanks,
if
James.
someone wants to go back and check the history, or we can just maybe have that available in a separate spreadsheet or something.
Yeah.
So that way we don't, if we have a question, you can check through that, and FAQs can really help out with that too.
And we can also then maybe say, after the comment section's over, adopted, and where they can go find it on the Google site. And then leave that up and then drop it, after 6 months, we think everybody's got it, and then continue forward. Okay. Stacy, Steve, is this anything that, are you good with this?
Yeah, I just as a throwing it out to the group, we'll continue to nudge, maybe midweek, so that the group is recalling. But if you want more nudging, we're happy to do that too. But I know you're busy. Thank you.
Okay, so next slide, topic areas. So we're done, checked off the Google site repository. What's in yellow is where we're at today. Other program resources, institutional sharing, implementation guide. Those will go blue now. We need new topics for next Friday's meeting. Are we at the time that we want to? We've probably done some of the professional development tools too, but are we at the time where we need to talk about marketing tools and programming, or the ambassador talking points, the directory of ambassadors. What are some other topic areas that we need? Because we've got every Friday between now and the end of September. We do have a note already from today's meeting that we will bring back is the umbrella and the ecosystem, and be thinking about that. And we might be able to get that out to you in the midweek nudge. So you'll have time to review that as well before the meeting and come with ideas. But so besides that, for next week's, what are other areas that you think you're ready to start talking and sharing? I think the Clearinghouse 2.0 will fall under program branding. And actually another, and it goes with Allegra's comment. Is it a program initiative? What are we going to do with this? We do have one best practice of a marketing tool that's already out there on a website. So if we go with marketing tools and program branding next week, I can share one Indiana best practice, but I know we have others from around the country. Do we need more time with the ACE military guide?
Yeah, we could use more time with the ACE military guide, see what James can bring back. Laura Best is working on it for us, so we might be able to bring some information back.
Okay.
I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation. I wouldn't mind, like, at least starting to talk about the ambassador talking points.
Okay.
Start getting that list together.
All right.
That's a lot for 1 week, so I don't know. But
yeah, it is. But we do have, with the ambassador talking points, we already have a set that was done last October, but it's generic and broad for the whole program. So we can send that out, and then if you guys just want to start, well, that's great for the overall, but for this program for the military, this is what it needs to be and how it needs to read. Okay. We will do those 3 topic points for next Friday. I'm sorry we went 4 minutes over. If no one has anything else, great job today, everyone. Thank you. Have a great and fun weekend, and we'll see you all next Friday.
thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye.